Hi, my name is Nicole. Welcome to my channel, Travel to Money. In this video, I'll talk about my first time working 2 full-time jobs, the importance of asking for what you want, how to present what you want, and how to find second jobs that provide housing. If you're new here, I have created this channel to help you learn about how to travel, adventure, and have fun on the road to financial independence. I have spent the last few years traveling the world. I paid off a house in Spain, plus I have worked smarter and harder to help me move toward financial independence. I believe that the road to financial freedom can and should be fun. I hope that you'll subscribe and jump on this journey with me, no matter where you are starting from. At this point in my story, I had traveled the world for 4 months. I had come home and tried house sitting. I'd bought a house in Spain, and in the last video, I explained that I was selling my second home in Florida just 6 months after buying it. One of the main reasons I decided to sell the house was because I wasn't living there anymore. Why, you may ask? Well, because I had started a second job that provided on-property housing for me. I was visiting with a friend who worked for a golf academy as a driver. He began telling me that they were looking for house parents who live in apartments near teenagers and take care of them in the evenings. He told me that they don't really do anything during the day, but that most of their job was in the evenings. When he was telling me about the job, it sounded like cake. The truth was that he didn't really know much about what the job entailed, but it sounded so interesting to me. I wasn't really crazy about just chilling at home, and I also wasn't traveling at the time, and this sparked my interest. I asked him, do you think I could do that job in the evenings and maybe they'd let me keep my job that I do online during the day? He said, maybe. So he reached out to the HR director who I ended up sending my resume to. They were looking for people at the time, so he called me within a day or so and talked to me about the position. His version of the job sounded a lot like my friend's version, which didn't exactly turn out to be true. But anyhow, he told me that he would schedule an interview for me with the manager and the director of the department. At some point, I went in for an interview. I hit it off with the 2 ladies who were the manager and the director. The thing was, the HR manager had not told them about my other job, and they were a little taken aback by that. When situations like this arise, some people may look at the situation and say, well, these are the rules, so I guess it won't work out. But I really wanted this job. They seemed to also be interested in me, and the director said, well, let's see how we can figure this out. That's exactly what I was looking for, a fellow problem solver. We ended up negotiating that I would work 3/4 of the time and would receive 3/4 of the pay. At the time, the role was 3 weeks on and 1 week off, so it wasn't exactly going to be 30 hours a week, but let's not get lost in those details. In addition to now having a second salary, which was about half of the salary for my primary job, they also provided housing in a split apartment where I'd have a roommate. I would have a master suite on my own end of the apartment, and all of the monthly utilities were included. This would mean I wouldn't pay a water bill, an electric bill, a Wi-Fi bill, a cable bill, or anything else like that. It also came furnished with the option of bringing some of your own furniture. On top of this, they had a food hall where they provide fresh meals for the students, and our meals would be included as well. So this means that my grocery bill would nearly go away. This is why I decided to sell my house at that time, in addition to the fact that I would be able to sell my house for a profit. I had never even thought about boarding schools before, or the fact that there were jobs out there that provide all of your housing and food for you. Technically, the salary is a bit higher and they make deductions for your housing and food. But either way, I was now living for free and bringing in another half a salary. Another benefit in my particular situation is that my work would be so different. At my primary job during the day, I'm working online from home doing communications for a nonprofit. This involves sitting on my couch with my laptop all day. With the second job, I'd be doing daily life, helping to provide guidance and guardianship for golf students. Two very different roles. I think it would be really hard to work two full-time jobs if the work was the same. But in this situation, I had one job that was very administrative, creative, and not physically demanding at all. The other job would require more from me relationally, and I'd be moving quickly from one thing to the next. Sometimes I'd be playing sports with students, following up to make sure their school or chores were done, driving them to activities or other things of that sort. This really was the perfect fit, and this is what I want to say about finding things that work for you. In most cases, the optimal scenario may not be laid out in front of you, but it's important to ask for what you want. I could have assumed that my primary job wouldn't let me take a second job. I could have assumed that the second job wouldn't let me keep my primary job. I could make all sorts of assumptions about rules and the boxes that other people live in. But instead, I asked for what I wanted and I explained why it would benefit each organization, why I could handle it, and why it was a good thing for everyone. Negotiation begins with asking questions. You have to get creative and become a problem solver. You never know what doors might open for you. Now, let me explain another area of savings thanks to the way both of these jobs were set up. Most people with two jobs would have double the commute, but my primary job is remote, so there is never any commute, and now with the second job, I would be living there, so I wouldn't have to commute there either. This is a big savings in a lot of ways. I would be driving much less. With a lower amount of miles driven per year, car insurance is cheaper. It also saves me on gas and wear and tear that leads to maintenance on a car. But I wasn't only saving money, I was saving time too. Most people commute at least 30 to 60 minutes per day, and probably more if they work two jobs. I would be saving an extraordinary amount of time with this. Another financial benefit to working two jobs is that it does fill up your time that you may otherwise be using to spend money. There's just not much time to spend money in this scenario. For me, I had a bit of credit card debt, and what I began doing was putting 100% of the pay from my second job toward my credit cards. I had never been able to pay off debt in such big chunks before, and this felt amazing. Not only did it feel great, but it's much easier to stick to something like this when you see the light at the end of the tunnel get really big, really fast. If you are just getting started on your financial independence journey, it's not the worst thing in the world to consider a second job. Yes, building passive income streams is amazing, and you don't necessarily want to swap your time for money. But for a period of time, this can be a real winner, especially if you can set yourself up with a situation that has so many benefits like this one did for me. This could either be a solution to paying of big chunks of debt, or it could also be a jumpstart into investing big chunks of money if you're just starting to build your investments. You might say, well, Nicole, this channel is also about travel. Yes, it is. Guess what? There are jobs like this one I described all around the world. So if you have a remote job now, work something out like I did with a second job in a place that you really want to travel to. It doesn't even have to be full-time. If you find a place that provides housing that takes such a financial burden off of you and allows you to save and invest. You might tell me that you have a house that you really love. Well, maybe you should consider renting your house out on Airbnb and VRBO while you work a second job that provides housing. Then you'd have 3 streams of income. Let's get creative, people. And a boarding school is just one idea for a job that provides housing. If you are curious about ways that you can structure your work, your time, and your travel to make room for something like this, leave a comment and I'd love to chat with you and help you in any way that I can. If you have learned something new here, I'd love for you to like the video, and I hope you'll subscribe to join me on this journey where travel and adventure build financial freedom. I can't wait to see where your dreams will take you.